Hey everyone, this will be a slip brushing demonstration on your coil pot, right? Your coil bowl. Um, so, where you want your coil belt bowl in the grand scheme of things um, is to be a stiff leather hard. You can hear it has a nice damp thud sound when I tap the side, and it's not going to deform if I pick it up and move it around, right? It's not going to, the walls aren't going to change. Be careful of handling it. If you handle it by grabbing its rim like this with one hand, you may break it, right? So just handle it with two hands, and make sure it's cleaned out. You might have some little clay bits from your trash bag, right? And for this, each station has a 2-inch chip brush. You can get a bag of these at any hardware store in the painting section for little to no cost. It might be like $1 for each of these little guys. If you buy them in a pack, they're like 50 cents each. These work really great for adding slip onto work. So everybody should have black slip, and you always want to mix this up beforehand. Okay. You can see there's a little bit of water that is on top, right? And just like mixing glaze, we just want to make sure that we have a nice even mix. And this stuff is fairly runny, right? It will go on as a nice thin application. And we'll build this up in layers. So we'll put on one coat, put this in front of the fan, put on 2 coats, put it in front of the fan, and then maybe put on 3 coats if we need. So you could take a little bit more time and clean up your piece if you wanted to. Right, I still have some rough edges to this, but I'm not worried about it. Right. We'll begin by brushing the outside with the base turned over. Our rim is nice and stiff, so you're not going to deform it if you flip it over. Right? And the best way to add this slip on is dipping it once, brushing it on, and then leave it. If I continually brush it, the brush strokes will become more vivid, right? You'll be able to see the brush strokes more. No matter how you cut it, you're going to see brush strokes with this. Don't think that the brush strokes will go away magically by adding more slip, right? So these are handmade, right? You can see brush strokes in all sorts of paintings, professionally and even historically too in a museum. So having visible brush strokes is nothing to be concerned of, right? And just from that amount of time of me talking, right, that water content was absorbed into the base here, and that sheen begins to go away. So we're reintroducing water into our clay body here, just something to take note of, right? Similar to the glazing process, bisque is porous, but it is more porous than this leather hard stage, right? So once the sheen goes away, I can begin brushing more on, right? So dipping my brush in the slip, brushing over, see that little drip, I'll catch that guy, right? So we'll just build this up in layers. Again, this is kind of runny, so just be careful in catching the drips, right? So as I brush, I might have some little spots, like this one right here, a little bit of a cavity. I just dabbed some slip in there to fill that cavity, right? And what I want to do is let my bottom firm up. I want my bottom to absorb all that slip. I can still see a little bit right here that is a little bit of a sheen. So put this in front of the fan and let it dry. For the sake of the demo, I want to flip this over. So instead of flipping my bowl onto the canvas here and having the slip stick onto the canvas and removing from my base, I will lightly flip over and place it on some newspaper, right? And then I can work from here, right? Bring this just a little bit closer to you so you can see what's going on. So I didn't brush all the way to the rim when it was flipped over, because now I have a good workable space that I can see what's going on, right? You see how I'm just laying that down, brushing, giving it a nice coat. Then I'm smoothing out the slip a little bit when I go back and forth, dipping it in my slip, brushing it on, smoothing it out, and then leaving it, right? The more you brush your slip on, the more you'll take away. And while the outside is setting up, I can come and brush the inside, right? So however you want to start. I'll start at the top and work down to the base, right? Just because of gravity and drips, it's easier for me to catch the drips working from top down as opposed to bottom up, right? I can smooth out my drips as they move towards the bottom of the bowl. Again, there are going to be brush strokes. Do not be concerned with these brush strokes. We're going to build this up in another layer. the successive layers of slip will fill in those brush strokes. Great. So my first coat's on. I'll put this in front of the fan to dry out. Right. Be careful of handling this. My slip is probably still a little wet to the touch on the outside. Right. If I, pick this up, I can leave a fingerprint and things like that. And while we're gonna put on another layer of this black slip, it's just good not to add any sort of fingerprints to them. So I'm gonna put this in front of the fan, let it firm up, and I'll add my second coat. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit.